Every major type of memory explained. These are the different types of memory your brain uses every day. When we say memory, it isn't just one single thing. There are many types, each doing something specific to help us function in the world. So let's break it down. 1. Sensory memory. This is the type of memory that lets you briefly retain impressions of sensory information after the original stimulus is gone. It works almost like a buffer. There are three main types. The first is iconic memory. This handles visual information. It allows you to remember what you've seen, but only for a fraction of a second. Think of it like the after image when a bright light flashes. The second is echoic memory. This stores sounds for a few seconds. It's why you can replay what someone just said in your head, even if you weren't paying full attention. The third is haptic memory. This is for touch. It holds information about things you physically felt, but only for a brief moment. Sensory memory is very short-lived, only lasting a second or two, but it's the first step in processing information. 2. Short-term memory. With short-term memory, this is where information is stored temporarily, usually for about 20 to 30 seconds. If you've ever tried to remember a phone number long enough to dial it, you've used your short-term memory. It's a small storage space and can only hold about 7 items at a time. Once those seconds are up, the information either fades away or moves into long-term memory if it's important enough. 3. Working memory. Now, working memory is a bit more dynamic. It's a type of short-term memory that helps you hold and manipulate information. So if you're doing mental math or trying to solve a puzzle in your head, you're using your working memory. It's not just about holding information, but also processing it. Imagine it like a mental workspace where you're actively thinking and problem solving. 4. Long-term memory. In long-term memory, this is where things get stored for the long haul. Information that's important or repeated enough moves from short-term memory into long-term memory. There are two main types here: explicit memory and implicit memory. Let's start with explicit memory. Explicit memory is also called declarative memory. This is the kind of memory that you can consciously recall. You can actively think about and declare these memories. There are two subtypes: episodic memory and semantic memory. With episodic memory, this is your personal memory of specific events or experiences. It's like a mental diary. For example, you can recall your last birthday party, who was there, what you did, how you felt. That's episodic memory in action. With semantic memory, this is your general knowledge about the world. It's facts, concepts, and things you've learned over time. For instance, knowing that the capital of France is Paris, or what a dog looks like, is semantic memory. These two work together to create a full picture of your experiences and knowledge. Implicit memory. Now, implicit memory is an unconscious one. You don't actively think about these memories, but they influence your behavior. Here's where procedural memory comes in. Procedural memory helps you remember how to do things, like riding a bike, tying your shoes, or typing on a keyboard. You don't need to consciously think about how to do these things once you've learned them. You just do them automatically. There's also priming, where previous experiences influence how you respond to something now. For example, if you've seen the word yellow, you're more likely to quickly recognize the word banana afterward. And finally, there's classical conditioning. It's when you learn to associate a stimulus with a response, like feeling hungry when you hear the dinner bell. Let's move to the fifth major type of memory: autobiographical memory. This one is pretty cool because it's a mix of episodic and semantic memory. It's the memory of your life story. It includes specific personal experiences, like episodic memory, but also general knowledge about your life, like semantic memory. For instance, you might remember the specific details of your high school graduation day, but you also know that you graduated from high school, which is more general knowledge. Together, these create the full narrative of your personal history. Next, we have prospective memory, which is number 6. Prospective memory is your ability to remember to do things in the future. It's basically like having mental to-do lists. Remembering to pick up groceries on the way home or to call a friend later are examples of prospective memory in action. It's crucial for planning and organizing our day-to-day activities. 7. Flashbulb memory. Have you ever had a really vivid memory of a specific event, especially one that was emotionally charged? That's called flashbulb memory. These are highly detailed, snapshot-like memories of significant events. For example, people often remember exactly where they were and what they were doing during major historical events. These memories tend to stick with us because they're tied to strong emotions, which makes them feel more vivid and long-lasting. Let's put these major types of memory together. Memory types working together. It's important to note that these major types of memory don't work in isolation. They often work together to help you navigate life. For instance, when you're learning to drive, your sensory memory picks up on the visual and auditory information. Your working memory helps you keep track of what you need to do next, and your procedural memory builds the skills so you can drive without thinking about every action. Later, you might recall your first driving lesson using episodic memory, while your semantic memory lets you know what a steering wheel is. Memory and learning. These different types of memory are essential for learning and adapting to new situations. Your brain decides which memories are worth keeping and which can be discarded based on how often you use the information or how important it is emotionally. That's why repetition and emotional connection can help solidify memories. The fragility of memory. It's also worth mentioning that memory isn't always perfect. Memories can fade, and sometimes we even misremember things. This is especially true with episodic memories, which are more susceptible to distortion over time. Your brain might fill in gaps or change details without you even realizing it. It's a reminder that while memory is powerful, it's also a little fragile. Conclusion. To wrap it up, memory is incredibly complex, with many types working together to help you function in the world. Whether it's something as short-lived as sensory memory or as long-lasting as explicit memory, these systems are constantly at work behind the scenes. Understanding how memory works can help you learn better, recall information more effectively, and maybe even be a little more patient with yourself when you forget where you left your keys. If you found this video helpful, kindly hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.